Augustine, as you are also expecting the studies and the analysis to come and yield the results in the coming days, and but naturally as well, but the Indian investigators will be also joined by the experts from the US and the UK, as they are not just Indian nationals who have suffered the loss of life, with more nationals from in fact Canada and British nationality as well. And in the coming days, as authorities attempt to establish what caused the Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner to crash shortly after the takeoff within the range of 1.5 kilometer, which is just 0.9 miles away from the runway at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. What remains to be also the looming question at large is the kind of expectation and the accountability that is fixated on the airline as well, as the Air India in the recent time, and it is just less than 24 hours that today as well an Air India flight had been diverted. So time and again these kind of incidents are only instilling fear, with more anxiety among the flyers as well. And right now, in fact, what seems to be coming out as a response to this very tragic air crash, and this is of course natural in such times of tragedy.
Very good question. In fact, if you ask me, Boeing has a lot to do to redeem its name, because from the the current Boeing company is a merger of two large McDonnell Douglas and Boeing. So the work culture there, I'm told, how far it is true, I won't be able to put my finger on. But the work culture which existed in the erstwhile Boeing, earlier days, I remember when we were young, there was a saying people used to say, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't flying. So Boeing had that kind of safety record. But suddenly we see now back-to-back Boeing aeroplanes are getting into trouble in the bid to push out aeroplanes faster from the production line. There is a little bit of safety that is getting compromised, which led to 737 Max's crash, and which led to even 787 was grounded in the initial days due to lithium polymer battery giving issues, electrical issues. So these are things that is pointing finger towards money taking precedence over safety at the Boeing headquarters as well as on the Boeing shop floor. So these are two things I thought they'd earned their lesson, but I think there's a long way to go before Boeing gets its act together and push out aeroplanes which are absolutely 100, 200% safe for people to travel. If you go back to 50s and the 60s, air travel was not considered very safe. But since the time Boeing and Airbus came by, and the jet engines came through, and better technology, fly-by-wire technologies came through, we saw there was no crash for many, many years. In fact, last crash in India was the tabletop 737 Air India Express, which crashed, which was because of weather and bad judgment. I mean, I lost a very good friend of mine, Captain Nitin Sate there. So that was the last crash that I know. So now compare that with the other crashes that is happening. Like take for example US. In this interim period, I know at least 20 to 30 crashes that has happened in US. Yes, US is flying a lot. Recently flew there. I mean, everybody flies there, whether big or small aircraft. Be that as it may, if you just look at the number of crashes, ours has been. We have had very good track record as far as aviation safety is concerned. Yes, maybe this crash or the previous crash and the crashes that is happening all over the world should drive some sense into people that safety is paramount, and money can probably take a second place, because eventually if safety gets affected and people don't travel, what is the use of that money, isn't it? So all the more reason that safety gets more impetus, which in India I'm very proud to say um, we don't compromise on safety. It's absolutely a no. Safety is for us is the paramount ingredient when it comes to air travel, and as well as aircraft safety. Over to you.
Mr. Augustine, in fact, very particularly made remarks, and I'm listening and trying to understand your context of these statements between the lines, and almost immediately, if we have to understand the series in which this has happened, and you're very rightly pointing out that this is not an everyday affair and this should not be, in fact, rather, but almost immediately after the takeoff, the cockpit gave a mayday call. Now, that statement has come from the DGCA. No response was given by the aircraft after that. It's unclear what prompted the mayday call, but the flight's sole survivor has also told the media in the conversation that he has heard a loud bang as the plane struggled to gain the altitude. The final transmitted data also showed that the plane reached a height of 625 feet, which is approximately around 190 meters, and it proceeds to descend and becomes obscured by trees and buildings before a large explosion appears on the horizon, also crashing into the hospital medical college building. Now, when the response was not given, is that not a big enough reason for the authorities to also launch into a probe as to what did not prompt a response? Because the pilots have had a combined great experience time of flying. So that did not in fact also include the points that the pilot did not take a call within minutes of flying. That was a very alerted distress call that came on a timely point. So that must have also gained some accountability from the responders' end.
Very good question. In fact, the mayday call, when did the mayday call come in that 32 seconds is very, very important. Mayday is the highest distress call. I mean, there are very different levels of distress call we give. Mayday call is one of the highest distress message we put it out. So, an important point you made. Again, in 32 seconds, ma'am, it is very difficult to, I mean, I'm telling you as a pilot, very difficult to quickly grasp what has gone wrong and take actions. So it is possible that given the time was so short, it is possible that the loss of lift happened and the time the impact happened was so little that anyone in that pilot's, I mean, Captain Sabharwal's place would have ended up in where he eventually ended up, because it looked like they had entered the dead man's curve, as we call it, a couple of seconds after the sink, the aeroplane and then sank, happened. After that, it is just a matter of time and gravity getting better of you. You're already in the dead man's curve. I mean, it's just a matter of a couple of more seconds, and the eventual thing that happened is what eventually will happen. So it's a very dangerous profession as pilots. I mean, I've been a fighter pilot. I lost so many of my friends. So many of my friends I picked up in battle.
In fact, as I am understanding the reasons as to what prompted this is going to take some time, as there are looming questions and concerns which are going to, of course, come in.